Okay, our next speaker's really interesting idea of how do you sort of pre-test for a specific event, and this is pre-testing for the Olympics. So Tim Poellmann, senior manager in marketing insights at Dick's Sporting Goods. He sort of helps lead the end-to-end research projects for all of their campaigns. And he will be joined by the legendary Leslie Wood, Chief Research Officer at iSpot TV. She develops their products, solutions, methodologies that underpin all of iSpot's industry-leading cross-platform measurement suite. Most recently, she was also Chief Research Officer at NC Solutions.
So I want to start today by thanking Tim for coming and being willing to really share Dick's Sporting Goods story of how they're using our platform. We started with just talking about Dick's, but then when I heard the focus was really AI, I couldn't resist. So we've been doing AI in the creative realm for 12 plus years. It's a big piece. And, you know, we talk about people and how important the one-to-one people part is. And that's a big part of what we've done. And I'll talk more about emos in a moment. But emos are the emotional measures we've created out of real verbatims from people. So a lot of this is like using AI to create those emos. We also do a lot of work with the creative. So we actually take each ad, split it up, find keyframes, and reduce those 700 images to maybe 6, 8, 10, 12, depending on what they are. And the AI actually does that for us, creates distinct frames. And then from those, we can actually, we attach actually what's said, what's shown on the screen. We put this all in a database. We use AI to figure out what's on the screen. You know, are there QR codes? Are there balls, hamburgers, dogs, celebrities, you know, whatever's on the screen, so that you can search and look at different ads exactly the way they are. And then we take all that and we decompose those so that we have speech to text. We put all those ads together so it really gives us a real picture, and you can go circling through all the elements of the creative and look at your competitor, look at your own, how did it do, and connect it to purchase intent or lift. So I want to take a little bit and dive into the emos because that was used so heavily. So the emos are, we take these verbatims, there's 500 surveys for every ad, and we open end at the end, say, what did you think? And that gives us that single actual view from the consumer. So we have 500 of those for every ad. And AI goes and finds the right words, and there's the whole like phrases to vectors, so that we have this ability to have a vector that really is the essence of a phrase that a consumer might use about an ad. And it's not just ChatGPT, it's actually built for what people say in bits and phrases about creative. It's built from our data. We also build a nice cloud, you know, trained on those verbatims. We have all the questions that are in that give us all kinds of insights about the ads. We do a lot of work quantifying and qualifying all of the data. And then we make this nice pie chart with all the emotions. And things that are close to the center, you know, they have a very, they'll have a very broad impact or be commented by a lot of people. The things that go out wide are things that are rare or rarely spoken. So there's a bit of a norms, how far out you are is related to the norms, like how well did you do in comparison. So Thank you. I just had to do a little bit on AI, even though it was not, I mean, it's such a big part of my team as a data scientist. We spend a lot of energy here. So now to you, Tim. So when you went here, what were you specifically looking for to make this ad? What were the real challenges, and what were you trying to do?
Yeah, when we were kicking off the process for our Olympics ad with our brand and creative teams, I think we were looking for a few things. One, with all Olympics ads, we want to be inspirational and empowering, and I think that's really important to just really lean into those as really powerful emotions. I think we've already heard today that engaging with folks emotionally is what's really going to get them connected with our ads. So we knew we wanted something inspirational, empowering, and then on top of that, we wanted that to ladder up to our brand belief that sports really have the power to change lives. So how can we use athletes and youth sports to really drive those feelings of inspiration, especially nostalgia for youth sports is really important for us. And we really wanted to make sure with this ad that message was landing. We also did a little bit of concept testing with early stage storyboards, and we had just a couple of watchouts that we were also looking for in going into the pre-testing process. One of which is this ad ownable by Dick's Sporting Goods, which we'll get into in a little bit here. Just the idea that as we're kind of leaning into sport and youth sports, that does align with Dick's Sporting Goods, but it also aligns with a lot of other different brands and companies. So just how ownable is that to Dick's Sporting Goods?
Very
And then honestly, just really wanting to make sure we were hitting this storyline of inspirational versus cute. Ace Metrics could get into the details of this quite a bit, but as they measure what really makes for an empowering ad, there's a big difference between being seen as inspirational and heartfelt and being seen as cute, which is a nice emotion to drive, but not necessarily as engaging or connecting of an emotion to drive. So those were the two things we were looking for in our pre-testing, and we're happy to show you how the ad turned out after that round of pre-testing.
We would love to have Riley on the team. I made the team.
Yeah.
So this slide is about big moments, and I'm going to take a moment because you can't read anything that's on it. It's a nice set of bars, and what's the point? The point is, on the I have a problem as a researcher when these come up. So if on the far left, we have the response is, this ad could only have been done by Dick's Sporting Goods. And the next column is, it's obvious that it's Dick's, and the third is it's pretty clear, and the others begin to be like, I don't know who it is, right? So clearly what we see here is that 77% of the responses about this ad really connected this to Dick's Sporting Goods. That's one of our survey questions. It really helps us know how well is that brand connected. So.
Yeah, one of the benefits of testing with Ace Metrics is we have the ability to not only lean into your standard diagnostics that we look for, so just getting that initial read on emotion and reaction and brand recall before we kind of get into some of these custom questions, but then we do have the ability to survey consumers and get that actual human feedback of, is this truly an ownable brand or ad for Dick's Sporting Goods? So this is a common one that we leverage in pre-testing. We work with Shay and team to kind of work a lot of these standard questions into our pre-testing. So that way, not only are we building an archive of Ace Metrics scores throughout all of our ads and our competitor ads, but we can also see as we're pre-testing these ads just how ownable they are beyond this typical measure of brand recognition, which we'll get into in a second here.
Yeah.
So then on top of that, we do also get brand recognition from Ace Metrics. This one was knocked out of the park. 83% of all respondents in our survey were able to correctly identify that this was a Dick's ad. I know that may seem obvious with the end card, but we do see a lot of variable results in the platform just based on the story we're driving, the type of creative we have. how the creative comes about. So we were really happy with that. And according to their platform, I believe this is for just all Gen Pop, all industry ads, just 63% of the typical ad in the Ace Metrics platform has that correct brand recall. So to be 20 points higher than that, we were thrilled with that.
So as you were working in this, you not only had things that were specific for the Olympic ad, but your broader challenges. What are you trying to optimize? How does iSpot really help you?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things there. I think when we think about using Ace Metrics in total, what we're trying to do is make sure our ads are delivering a certain standard against all of the other ads that we've run previously. We're always trying to kind of create a best-in-class ad for ourselves. And so Ace Metrics really just creates a great platform to say, here's how this ad scored versus last year's ad versus the back-to-school ad. Oh, by the way, here's how all of our competitor ads are scoring. Are their messages landing? And then on top of that, I think just getting that real emotional read on how consumers are reacting and responding to our ads. We always look at all the diagnostics below the ACE score to say, is this breaking through? Is it likable? Is it attention grabbing? For some of our more product focused ads, or is it really driving relevance with the product? So we have all sorts of, I think, different diagnostics that we look for depending on the type of ad, the audience of ad, what brand or chain that we're advertising. And this one in particular, I think what we were really leaning into was, so especially with this ad, using those emotional scores that you guys collect. And as you can see on this giant pie chart, there's about like, I think, 40 or 50 different emotional scores that we look for. You know, in each ad we test, we really want to make sure, is this driving humor? Is this driving nostalgia, feelings of heartfelt? In this ad in particular, we're able to really, after we made some creative changes due to the pre-test, drive higher levels of inspiration, heartfelt, just really making sure that we were hitting that high note of nostalgia and that the power of youth sports was really coming through. Because what we both get is, are those emotions landing? And then all of the words in green in the word chart are all of those human responses kind of validating those emotions and reactions we were seeing.
Yeah, it's you know, you're incorporating all of your customer feedback here, right? This is a way of taking 500 surveys and actually putting all those insights into one set of metrics, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the other fun thing with our pre-testing too is that we were able to also run all of our cut downs through the pre-testing. So for us, that's not just about like taking that main television ad and making it shorter and sweeter. It's about, you know, how do we invest in the different various cut downs do we have? What 15s should we invest in more than others? While we're still trying to drive that same overarching storyline here, you know, are each of them driving different emotions, driving different feelings of inspiration? Are they getting across different emotions here? And so I think that was really the fun of this series as well, is that not only was our, you know, overall brand campaign driving the emotion and connection we were looking for, but each of the little 15-second cut downs that feature all of the different great athletes and stories there were also driving unique, distinct emotions that were connecting differently as well.
A really important thing, we do see that 15s sometimes do equally well, and sometimes they do terribly. And particularly when you've got a good storyline, is it too complex a storyline to bring in? Or like there's instances where we see very poor scores for 15. So knowing that going in, really important to pick the ones that actually work. And actually find a 30 that does cut down well. Kind of important. So when you're looking at this, how do benchmarks play? What role do they play in the whole process?
Yeah, so we, like I mentioned before, like to benchmark ourselves against our typical ads, and we look at this through a number of different ways. I think the other power of Ace Metrics is the ability to kind of like filter ads through the lens of, how is this stacking up against our own ads? How is this stacking up against the typical sporting goods ad? You know, we are really striving to build an iconic brand at Dick's Sporting Goods, and so we like to look at the all industry scores as well and just see, you know, how is the scoring compared to a typical sporting goods ad if this is maybe for our Golf Galaxy brand, but for the Dick's Master brand, we really want to understand how are we driving towards being that more iconic brand? Are we raising our ACE scores over time? And then I think with all the diagnostics below that as well, every single campaign we have has, slightly different goals that we're looking for within each one. Are we really trying to drive purchase intent with our back to school and holiday ads, and what kind of benchmark do we set for ourselves to make sure that that ad has to hit that level of purchase intent or brand recall before we get it out there in the marketplace? So it really varies by brand and by campaign, but I think the beauty of the platform is just our ability to drill into that depending on the circumstance.
And having 12 plus years really makes a big difference
Yes.
across so many ads.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you have for people, for this crowd, to, on building better creative?
Yeah, well, I guess first things I'd say as a market researcher is I think we've been talking about it all day today, but layering in this human element is just so important. And I think doing research of any kind, just to make sure we're removing biases from the equation, making sure that humans are getting the chance to react and respond to our creative before it launches, I think just gives us that proper gut check to make sure that we know this is going to be successful before it launches.
And I think it's fascinating. What we're using AI here for is to take lots of people's responses and turn it into something understandable rather than, and let me tell you, it's expensive. So I keep hearing, could you have virtual respondents? Could you just have, AI tell you those responses? Sure, and that might work for a couple weeks, maybe even a year for some brands, but you really want, people's view of the world changes constantly, and is the internet going to keep up, We don't want to be that far behind. We don't want to have virtual respondents filling these in. So yes, it's real people are important, but if you want to do it on a big scale, you really need the AI to turn that into insights that are manageable. And yes, when you dig into any of the emos, you can see the actual verbatims that drove them, right? So there's the ability to go back and actually read, what did people write? What are the things that we put in there to make sure, there's times when the AI gets it wrong, but mostly we've done a really good job of training them so that you get that picture.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'd say too is, from a piece of advice, is just really lean into building trust with your brand partners and creative partners, especially for the researchers out there. I think that's gone a really long way at Dick's Sporting Goods, is just really partnering with our brand and creative partners to say, we're not doing research to provide a scorecard or to perfectly sculpt this creative. I think what I've been able to do with our brand teams in particular is really educate them about the types of pre-testing we do and why we believe in ACE metrics. And now I think we've gotten to a point where ACE and iSpot are seen as the gold standard at our company. People are excited to see the reports come back because they speak the language and they know the power that it provides. And so I think our insights just go a lot farther when we have this connection point. They know that research is there to drive their strategy rather than to give them a scorecard, give them a score, just try to cut down on creative or cut away from the creative process.
Yeah, I've seen that my whole career, that if you try and tell people this creative was good or bad or whatever, nobody's really interested. They need the insights that move them forward.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.